Hi, this is Richard. We're starting the intermediate Blender series, and you will notice I'm not in Blender, I'm in Chrome, because we're going to start with doing materials, and the best, most realistic materials come from images. So we need a good free image editor. I'm going to try and keep everything that I do open source. So it's going to be free to get, free to use, free to make things and distribute them. That's in the nature of Blender. So there are some good tools that you pay for, but instead of using Photoshop, I suggest using GIMP. It's free. You go to gimp.org and you can get it right here. You click download. I'm not going to show you how to download it. I'm sure you know how if you can install Blender. And something else we're going to use is Insane Bump. It's a plugin for GIMP, and here's the website for that. I'm going to put it in the description as well, so you can just click on it and go to it. And it'll pull you up to this page. Insane Bump is obviously a take on Crazy Bump. It's going to generate our normal maps from a basic image. So you can take any image and make it look 3D without adding geometry. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So you're going to go to this web page, and you're going to scroll down. It's going to show you how to install it. I'm going to show you here in a second too. Scrolling down, all down, 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 and here you have under attachment 3 different ways to download it for 3 different uses. One of them is for Ubuntu, one's for Ubuntu 64-bit, and this one here is for Windows. Go ahead and click that one, and it'll save it. Go to where it's saved, and it is a zip file. So my stuff's saved to my downloads. Here it is as a zip. You just extract it. Okay. Yeah, I already did it. And then you open up where it extracted to. Now this first one, the .exe, you're going to copy it, Control-C, and go to where GIMP is installed. Its default location is in Programs, Program Files, GIMP 2. And now we need to install our add-on, so we're going to go to Lib for Library, GIMP 2.0, Plugins. And then you can Control-V to paste it here. And I've already got it, so I'm not going to do it, but you can. Go back to your downloads where you extracted that and get the DLL file, Control-C it, and go to Programs, Program Files, GIMP 2, whoops, and then Bin. And put the DLL file in there with Control-V. And, of course, I already have it, so I'm not going to. You can close out of that and open up GIMP. If you already have it open, reopen it. Close it down and open it up again. So that's going to load your new plugins, and then let's open up a texture from cgtextures.com. You just go to cgtextures.com. I've got a link to it in the description as well. And you can download any of these textures if you sign up for an account. You'll get 15 megabytes per rolling 24-hour period unless you sign up for one of their paid accounts, which I think is like $76 a year. Pretty good deal if you're doing a lot of texturing. I've hit my 15 megabyte limit quite a few times on texturing days. But it's a really great website. It's used by professionals, so you'll be getting professional textures and professional results. So now you've got your texture from here. You downloaded one of them, and you go into GIMP, and you file, open your texture. We're going to use this messy brick. I'm going to open it up here. And it's named exactly how you download it from CG Textures. Pretty basic. That's a nice looking messy brick, but it's not going to look 3D. It's going to look as 3D as it does right now if I just put it on an object. So we need to make some normal maps. The normal map is a set of colors, like red, green, blue, that are giving information to the 3D program about how to reflect light so that it looks like it's 3-dimensional. It's very, very handy, and it doesn't cost a lot of processing power, so games use it a lot. And let's go to Filters, Map, Insane Bump. Now here it's doing, you can see it working across the bottom. It takes it a little while generating all of those. And let's just let it go. It's doing a lot of work, and this actually has surprisingly good results. I suggest you just use it on its default settings and don't change any of the settings here, because those settings, you can tweak them in Blender when you are building your material. So If you have a real need to and you get really into this, then you can start looking into how to tweak those settings. I'm not going to go over it. I'm going to go over how to do it in Blender. And you see when it does it, it has some weird effects here. All right, I don't think it actually saved those yet, so let's go ahead and hit execute. And now you see it's saving down here, telling you what it's doing. It's saving each of those. And this one here is the diffuse. It's going to clean up our image, increase the contrast a little bit, raise the brightness, make it look a little bit nicer, increase the saturation so that it's a little bit larger than life. This is the displacement, or also known as height map. And it's a black and white image that, I'll show all these to you in full size once they're all saved, that is going to tell us how, or going to tell your mesh how to deform, actually change to fit this black and white map. Where it's white, it's going to deform more. Where it's black, it's going to deform hardly at all. And then the shades of gray are those in-between values. It's actually a little bit blurred and blurry because if you have a sharp change from black to white, it can cause some problems. Now, this bar has stopped working and it's completely green. It's not thinking. It's not waiting. It's finished. I sat here for like 5 minutes. I left and I got a drink, and I came back and I'm like, oh, it's still working. And finally I got upset and I closed it all out, and I found that it had finished its job. So it's not going to tell you that it's finished. Just when it stops, right here it says idle. The last one it saves is the _S. It changes the names of these. So like diffuse is whatever your texture name is, _D. Displacement, well, also known as height map, is going to be _H. Occlusion, that stands for ambient occlusion. That's going to actually not allow as much ambient light in the places where there's a hard crease, like the corners of these rocks. So it's actually occluding that light, and it's going to give you better contrast in your edges and better shadows. You can do this for a whole game world, or you can add this map onto your items and have it an item at a time. Really handy, really nice looking. Just rounds out your image. Ambient occlusion, this one's going to be _A. Your normal map _N, and your specular for how light should bounce, and for how much light should bounce off of different parts. That's _S. So they're all done. We're just going to close this out. Come on now. See, it has a little bit of goofiness to it when it's working. There we go. And we're left with just our basic image. So now let's open all those that it generated. We've got the A, D, H. It creates a few different types of normals as well that would be for a few different uses. I'm not going to go over those. You're not really going to use them in Blender. N for normal, S, and that's everything. So this HN, LN, MN, SN, those are different types of normal maps for different sizes of detail. And those can be handy, but you don't really have a use for them right now. Just the basic normal is going to work great, and you'll see that in just a minute. Let's open these up and take a look at them. And you don't have to use images for doing materials. You can just use the basic shaders, and I'll show that to you first here. But this is our basic image. This one here is the diffuse that it created. If we switch between them, you can see they're a little bit different. Just a little. This here is the ambient occlusion. It looks really bumpy and weird and lumpy, bunch of ooze. Well, it's really just about the shadows. So it's highlighting those shadows in those places where the light should not bounce into as well. All the places that are black, the light is not going to bounce into as well, and it's not going to light it up as well, so it's going to give you better shadows. That's our ambient occlusion map. And that's the diffuse, just the basic. This one here with the _H is your height map, and it's going to tell it how to actually change your geometry, and that actually adds a lot of polygons, as you'll see towards the end of this video. Here's your normal map, and it's crazy colored because those colors are giving it three-dimensional information that it couldn't get with just a black and white or normal colored image. It's very special that way that the program reads these colors in order to do different things. And this one is your specular. White bounces off more light, black bounces off less light, so it really tells it how to reflect light. This is a great way to make things look slimy or wet or light them up correctly. All of these put together into one mesh will create a material. Each one of these is a texture. Each one of these is a normal map, loosely. And working together, they're going to give us a really great result without using a lot of processing power. So let's go ahead and get out of GIMP and get out of this, and here we are in Blender. Here's our finished product when we overlay all of these. So I'm just going to grab this lamp and let you see how moving the light over this really highlights some of these details. And because it's in render view, it's got to re-render every time I move the light. That's why it goes fuzzy, and then you can see it better. But it looks really, really great. The only thing that tells you that this is not actually 3D is this hard edge right here. Let's switch out of this, and you can see this is just one polygon. It's one little lonely polygon. But you can get this amazing, textured, realistic looking result. How? Well, let's go in here and let's look at it. This is how. Using nodes. These are your nodes. And you can think of these like little builders. Each little box is a node, and they're connected with these lines, and each little box is a builder, and each builder uses resources from the left and creates something with those resources and passes it to the next builder, which uses what it passes to create something and passes it on. This material output is your final stage where it's sent to your mesh. So let's start off a little easier. We'll get there in just a minute, but first we're just going to do some basics. Here's a nice little ball. And let's get even more basic than this. Oh, you know what? Even more basic. Let's turn that off. Let's delete that. Let's go up here and just add a cube. So it's like how you would start the program. Now, if you don't remember, you can get to the node editor. When you first start it, you probably have a timeline. This is the default way, kind of looks like this. You go down here to this and click it and go to node editor so that you have this little like graph paper looking area so that you can work with your materials nodes. And we've got this cube like how you start with. So let's go over here and let's click on the material button. And you can click on new right here. And that's probably shut for you, so are both of those. And you see you have this diffuse, this color, roughness, normal, that pops up. And now if we render it, it's going to be white. It's going to be this color. See? So, how does this translate to nodes? Well, let's get rid of that, and let's hit new down here in our node editor. Well, it's just the exact same thing as hitting new up here. It gives us a diffuse right here. See? Diffuse. The color is white, just like this color here. Roughness is 0, just like here, and it has a place for a normal right here. It's just exactly the same as all of this. You see you have surface, that's this drop down, and it takes these materials from the diffuse. So all of these drop downs are your material output using this diffuse as its resources. And we have volume, just like we have volume here, and we have displacement, just like we have displacement here. We're not going to worry about volume and displacement. We're just going to worry about surface. So it can get a little confusing looking at everything in drop-downs in kind of an outline view. So that's why there's nodes, and nodes are great. Now we have our diffuse on there. It's just a basic, flat, white box. Okay, great. What if we want to make it look like shiny plastic? We hit Shift-A. Just like adding anything in any of the windows, Shift-A is going to let you add nodes in here. And we're going to go to Shader and Glossy. And if we connect the glossy in here, whoops, it went away from our diffuse, but now we have a glossy cube with no color. It's just reflecting some light. We need to combine these two, a color and some glossy reflection. So Shift A, let's add a mix shader. And wherever you add one, that's where it pops up, so you got to drag it over. And if you drag it onto a line, see how that turns orange? It's going to connect it into this other shader, just like that. I like putting the glossy on the bottom and the diffuse on top. I don't know why, it's just my workflow. And then we have a nice pearlescent, and I have this preview up here so that you can kind of see it. With these default values, it's pearlescent. Let's turn this roughness down to 0.01, really, really low. It's much more reflective, as you can see over here. Turn it way up, excuse me, way up, 0.75. It's very non-reflective, hardly at all. You might as well not put a glossy on it. So let's just leave it at 0.2, that nice pearlescent. This is your factor, the FAC here. It's your factor, and that is how it's going to split between diffuse and glossy. So if it right now it's at 0.5, so it's 50-50. If I put it at 0.1, it's 90% diffuse, 10% glossy. If I put it at 0.9, now it's 90% glossy, 10% diffuse. And then that depends on what's plugged in where. If I put my glossy up here and my diffuse down here, now it's reversed. So you have to pay attention to what's plugged in where. This little mix shader, we added a builder in here, so it's another step in our process. This builder is taking the resources of the diffuse and the glossy shaders and combining them by this factor to produce our output, our finished product. Now, what if we want something more complex than this? We need to give our diffuse and our glossy something more to work with. So these builders need resources. Let's look at them. The diffuse, let's put it on, I don't know, hot purple. Now, the glossy is on white, so it's reflecting white. See? The light bouncing off is white, and it makes it look like it's covered in a layer of plastic wrap. So let's grab this eyedropper and make it the same color. Now it's reflecting the same color. We can even make it a little brighter, since the light reflecting should be a little brighter. Well, we gave it some color. Now that's good, but we need still more to make it more interesting. This would be a pretty boring world if everything was filled with just diffuse and glossy. Well, we can add a normal map in. It's going to make it look kind of bumpy. Just like the normal map I was talking about before, Blender comes with a few preloaded. And if we go to texture, it calls them textures. There's noise, wave, Veroni, I want to say Veroni, but I know that's probably wrong. If you know how to pronounce it, tell me in the comments. And gradient, magic, checker, brick. I use checker a lot for a floor just because it's fast. But let's just put a noise on here. And now, lots of people take a texture and they just want to plug it in here to displace. And you get a little bit here. You can see how it looks kind of bumpy. And you look over here and it looks kind of bumpy. That's absolutely wrong. Don't do that. Please don't. Don't put anything in that displacement. Right here, this is yellow. This is a color that's supposed to go in to a color. And now it makes these weird colors. Kind of like the normal map we generated. It doesn't look bumpy at all, though. So let's leave these colors how they are. We need to change this into non-color data, into a vector. So let's hit Shift A and go, well, there's a vector option here, so let's go to Vector and Normal Map, because that's what we're doing. And we're going to connect this color, yellow to yellow, right there, and this blue from the normal to the normals here. Oh, whoops, now it goes black. Well, that's because this box does not yet have a UV map. The UV map are the coordinates on each polygon that it's going to overlay this normal map. So it has no coordinates to overlay it, and it doesn't really know what to do, so it's not doing anything. So let's, real quick, go into edit mode and hit U, unwrap. I'm not going to go into unwrapping in detail or UV editing. That's for a different video a little bit later. It is intermediate, but it needs its own focus. So we're just going to do simple right now. And then we go back and we have this weird texture. And now the strength is at 1. So we can turn this down to 0.2 to just make it gentle. and it gives it a little bit of texture. Now the effect is betrayed by these hard edges of this box. So let's delete this, and let's add a sphere instead. And yep, it's all highlighted. So let's go to shading and just make it smooth. And now you can see it looks bumpy, like there's bumps all over this sphere. And that's because of this normal map that we've added, because we gave our diffuse and our glossy something more to work with. And this normal map vector uses the information from the noise texture. So if we disconnect this one here, it doesn't have anything to work with on the normal map builder, so it's not showing anything there. Let's delete the noise and let's try a different one. Let's go to texture and let's do this guy, whose name I cannot pronounce. And let's change that scale to 25. Or we can do the magic, just to give all different types of textures to all different types of things. And that's pretty good, but maybe we could do some more. And I'm not really going to go into how each one of these works. You can kind of do that on your own. So maybe we want the glossy to only be glossy based off of this normal map. Well, let's put that into this factor here. Now, it's not going to reflect light in certain places because this magic texture is using the image to tell it where and how much it should switch between diffuse and glossy. It's controlling this factor. And now it's not. So there's just different ways that you can give these nodes the information that they need to change what they're making before they pass it along. And if you think about it that way, they receive information on the left side and they pass it from the right side. And in between that, they're building, and you can give them some information on the node itself to how to build things. So that's pretty basic, and here I want to point out under settings you can change the viewport color. So we can just grab that so that when you're not in your render mode, you still have that kind of the same color on it. Right here under settings in the viewport color. Now let's switch over to this bad boy and let's work on it. So we've got all of this. It's a little bit crazy, and let's select all of it and delete it, and let's build it fresh. Now there's absolutely nothing. So first thing we need to do is go into edit mode and hit unwrap. And tab into object mode, and I'm going to do this in with it being rendered. So let's close that out, and now we're in our, see, we took everything off. Now we're in our node editor, and I'm just going to hit new, and it gives us the diffuse and the material. So we're going to start by adding a mix shader in here, because I also want a glossy. So I'm going to go to shader and add glossy. I'm going to connect that in there. We have our nice pearlescent, and then I'm going to add, well, we're going to have a normal map. So let's go ahead and add that vector in here. And always add the normal to the diffuse and the glossy, because the glossy also needs to know where to bounce light. And I'm going to do this a little bit backwards. Texture. Now instead of adding that noise or brick or wave or magic texture, we're going to add an image texture, one of those ones that we generated in GIMP. And I'm just going to drag color to color there. And I'm going to open this up and go to where it generated my textures. I should say, wherever you generate your textures in GIMP, remember when we did this, it's going to put them wherever this original image was saved. So you want to build your folder first with the name of your material so that it'll spit out all of these generated maps into the same folder. And that's where you'll find them. I didn't do it, so they're all in downloads. And this is the normal map I'm looking for, so it's the _in. Now look at that. Isn't it pretty? Oh, it's a little bit rotated because I rotated my plane this direction. So let's just take this and let's rotate it around the x minus 90. There we go. And you can see already how nice and bumpy it looks with just that normal map on it. And we can hit UV map here to make sure that normal map is overlaid based on how we have our UV map. Make sure you do that. Now that might be too bumpy, so we can change this factor here to maybe a 0.2. Now it looks flattened out. Let's change it to 0.4. It's even more bumpy. And make sure this here, how it says color, change that to non-color data. It's just going to give you a much better result. It really almost completely changes how it works and how it looks. Alright, so we've got our normal map on. Well, we just have white color on the diffuse and the glossy, so let's add in our image now. And that is just the _D. And we have to connect that to our diffuse. And we have to connect that to our glossy. And immediately you see it spring to life. Now the glossy, well, that's really, really glossy, isn't it? Everything is really slick. But connecting this into the color and into the glossy, did you see how it didn't really come to life until I plugged this into the glossy? That's because the glossy is using this information. It's using this resource to build where it reflects off, or what color it reflects off of where. So when it bounces off right here, it's going to reflect this color, but when it bounces off right here, it's going to reflect black. And that's why we need to put it in both places, so that it doesn't reflect just white light. And now it's looking pretty good. If I grab this lamp, whoops, wrong one, this lamp, it's looking really good, but we can still make it better. Let's put that right there where it's easy to see. And let's go back to our plane. This is just one polygon I'm working with right now. See right here it says faces, 1. All right. Now, what else can we do? Well, let's put that specular map in. Let's tell it where it should be reflecting light off of. So texture, image texture, and I'm just going to put it up here. We're going to open it and go to where we went to last and get the _S that we generated. I'm just going to take this and I'm going to put it into that factor. It's going to use that black and white information to tell it where it should be reflecting more light and where it should be reflecting less. And it still looks really glossy. It's a little bit too much. Well, we can turn this roughness up to 0.4. Now that's a bit better. Or we can leave it at 0.2 and let it be all glossy. And then we can add in color mix right here on that line. And we're going to change this color all the way to black. And then we can change this factor to a 0.9, how about, to make it look really kind of dry, or we can change it to a 0.2 to make it look really wet. We can leave it at a 0.5. But you can take this alpha and plug it into the factor, and that's going to automatically do it if you don't know where you want it. But let's take that off and let's put it at a 0.75. And then we're going to put our ambient occlusion map in, and it's going to go in here to our diffuse. We're going to give our diffuse that information. So we're going to add a texture, an image texture. We're going to open up R_A for ambient occlusion. And now we have nowhere to put that. Everything's being used. We could put it up here, but that's going into a factor. So it would really mess up how our light is reflecting. So we're going to add color, another one of these mix. We're going to put, whoops, see how it goes over that? It would put it in on our glossy. We want it to go on our diffuse. So we'll just take that off. And we're going to plug that color in there. Now, that's a lot. It's mixing this ambient occlusion map with our colored map, our diffuse. So it's making it really all kinds of bumpy, lumpy, crazy. It doesn't even look real anymore. Just drag this alpha to the factor, like I just talked about, and that's going to tell it where to put that. It looks even worse now. Well, that's because it's telling it, use this ambient occlusion map everywhere it's white. So it's putting it over on top. Let's just swap those two. There you go. Now you have better shadows. It's going to look a lot better when light's hitting it. See, we just took that alpha and put it there, and we swapped our diffuse with our ambient occlusion. And let's see, what else can we do? I think that's pretty much everything. And now we'll take a look at our finished result. Oop, let me grab this light real quick. If you have a game that you're going to use this in, you put it in your game and you swing a light back and forth on this, you're going to get amazing results. If you have a gun with a flashlight on it, if you're going to shine that flashlight on it, it's going to reflect off of it and it's going to look real. It's going to look so good. See all this minute little detail that you get in here as the light moves? It changes what the image looks like. It looks completely 3D. Really a great result. But it's betrayed by this hard line here. So you have to kind of hide that. But it's only one polygon, and each of those images has to be thought about by the computer, but it's a lot better than using 1,000,000+ polygons to do this same amount of detail to reflect light the same way. We're not at that place yet. Here in 10 years, maybe we can waste all those polygons to get that effect without using normal maps, but that was pretty easy to do that. Once you get used to nodes and how to think about them, you can make some really incredible things really, really quickly with little to no effort. I don't see a reason that you would have to sculpt this by hand. So, having said that, let me show you how to add the height map, the displacement. And we're going to use modifiers for this. And that's the last thing we're going to do, and then we're going to be done. First off, we need a lot of polygons, because the displace map is actually going to deform those polygons based on the information in that image. So right now we have 4 vertices. It's going to try to displace those based on the image, but it's not nearly enough information. So we're in edit mode, and we're just going to go to tools and hit this subdivide button 1, 2, 3, 4 times, how's about? And you'll see around the outside it's hot pink. That's because I made that a crease. I just want it to stay a square. So you can do that by hitting Shift-E. Here I reset it. Now you have those sides selected. Shift-E and then drag it out until it's hot pink. So that when we add subdivision surface, it doesn't deform it. See, if I didn't have that on, how it rounds these corners. I just want it to stay a square, so I add that crease there. Let's go into object mode, because you can only apply these in object mode, so it only shows the displacement in object mode. Hit displace, and well, now it's not doing anything. Why is it not? Because we haven't told it what to use. See? Here under texture, it just has a new. So let's hit new. And then let's go to texture, and it's using when you first do this, it's using clouds. So I went here, and it was set to image texture. We want to change this to modifiers, change the displace texture. We're going to say this is messy brick. You can just give anything a name anywhere in here. And change this from clouds to image. And now we have the option to open. So we're going to go to where we generated all of our maps, and we're going to go to H for height. Height map. And wow, doesn't that look great? Oh, it's amazing. So realistic. Well, now that we've got that in there, we need to go back to our modifier. We need to change this strength. This strength is way too much, and we need to change these coordinates. They're on local. Let's change it to UV. Oh, it changed something. It still looks awful. So let's turn the strength down to 0.01. And now you can see it's actually deforming that polygon. You can especially tell if we look at the edge of it. You can see how it's actually pushing that out. Let's turn it up to 6. It's a maximum amount that we're allowed. And you know what? It looks like it's inside out. That's something you might want to watch for when you generate this. But if that happens, you can just do minus on your strength, and it'll pop it out the right direction. There we go. And maybe I want a little bit more, minus 0.02. Yeah, now it's pushing it out a little bit better. Scooch this guy back in. So now you can see the shape of our normal map, and this is pretty much like making it real. It's velveteen rabbiting the wall. So okay, maybe a minus 0.03. Would that be too much? Yeah, I think that's too much. So minus 0.015. Let's try that. And see how there's so much noise in here? If you just want some of the big detail, then you might want to go back to your displace map and change some of the settings on how it was generated. Or you can go in and you can blur it. Just blur the whole thing a little bit. And that will kind of mute some of this and give you bigger patches of area. So now that we've got that, you can apply it in the order that you did the modifiers. Let's go ahead and do that. Why not? We're going to finish with this. And then let's go to render mode, render view. Let's make it big. And it's taking a while. Watch, it might. Oh, now my computer's having to think. Don't crash. Please don't crash. It's because, look at this up here. On faces, we now have over 1 million polygons. Twice as many triangles. It's a ridiculous amount of polygons just to get almost the same result that we previously had. Maybe you'll want to do this for a render. Maybe if you're just making one image and it's going to be really up close because you're going to hang something off of this wall and it's going to be at a very acute angle where your face is smushed up against the wall and you're looking down it. Maybe you want to do that. Good for you. I'm perfectly happy with everything else, how it is. Here it comes. It's taken a while because it's just so many polygons. And look, it's using 861 megabytes of memory on my GPU, on my graphics card. So you can't expect many computers to be able to play a game full of these. let's get out of this. And let's Control Z. I think it might be a little bit faster if we leave these modifiers as not applied. So I want to grab my light, and now let's go back into it. This is the last thing we're doing, so I do urge you to play around with cycles and play around with these nodes and how they fit into each other. I didn't go over all the different types of shaders. Definitely give those a try. Like the Velvet is really fun. The Toon ones can be fun. Apply them and then change those settings in those nodes to give you slightly different results. That's the best way to do it. Anisotropic is a good one for metal, I should say. Play with the rotation of that as well as the roughness, and really see what you can get, because you can get everywhere from shiny reflective mirror to rough nickel, polished nickel. So I'll leave that for you, because I don't want this to take an hour and a half going over each of these nodes. I just wanted to show you this displaced map with the light. And now I'll grab the light, so it's going to have to redo everything over again. Well, you can see why you want to use normal maps and why you want to build your materials carefully so that you don't have to use polygons where they're not needed. Texturing is so important, and there's so many amazing ways to do this. But with Insane Bump and GIMP, you can do it for free with your free program Blender. I think it's really great, and I think you can get professional results. Oh, darn it, look at that. It peaked my graphics card just trying to move that. So, a good example. Yep, I don't know if it's going to give it back to me. Let's go to... There we go. Okay. Good example of why you just want to use the others. And of course tomorrow, well, I shouldn't say tomorrow, you might be watching this afterwards. On Saturdays at 3 p.m. Central Time, I'm going to try and stay committed to doing a live modeling program, an hour or so, where you can come in and you can ask me questions while I model something. It's a great way to go over some of this stuff and to get any questions you have answered while you can watch someone else build something. Everybody has a different way, and just because I do it one way doesn't mean that it's the best way. There are people that are a lot better at this than I am, that know a lot more than I do, and I really appreciate all of their input. So if you are one of these people, come and tell me how wrong I am about everything and set me straight, because I would love to learn how to get better, and Blender is all about getting better, doing better, so that you can have better results. See, now you can really see some of this detail, especially with moving the light around. How great that looks with the displace modifier. Now hold on. Let me completely remove it. Now, can you tell if this looks better or worse? Oh, you know what? I kind of can. It doesn't look quite as good. But that's a trade-off. It's that last little 5% of realism. If you're running past this in a video game, I think it would be enough. This is just one polygon, and I have it subdivided. So up there it says faces 256. That's because I still have that those subdivides on in edit mode. But you could just leave this at one polygon just fine and get all of this detail when light reflects on it. Fool the eye, you run past it, works just fine. When we get to a place where we can have 20, 30 million polygons on screen at one time, sure, displace everything. But until then, just work in nodes, work in your materials. I know for a fact Unreal Editor 4 uses materials with nodes. So you can learn it really fast if you understand how cycles nodes works. But that's all that I'm going to be doing today, and if you need more, if you have more questions about this, I could come back and do a little bit more, answer your questions during the live sessions, ask me in the comments. I'll be around. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.